Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is scheduled for one fall. Introducing your hosts, Kids at Heart.
Hello and welcome to Wrestle Reel. My name is Chris Anthony Lopez, and joining me on this is on the screens, my right hand side, that's Nick Molbach, and we are the Kids at Heart. Nick
at Heart.
Nick, what's going on, dude? Show 3.
Show 3, my friends. How are you guys doing? Hey, thank you so much for people who have been watching. Listen, I know that the viewership is starting gradually. First episode got like 10, 15. Now we have 30 going. Let's just keep it up. If you like this show, I know that somebody actually, as we're speaking right now, we have a consistent viewer on this channel alone. It's a Beats channel. He loves this show in particular. Comments on it during like the live stuff. He's like, "Oh, I got to watch this while I'm driving." So thank you. It might have been that one that was saying that he wanted us to play his stuff on the stream, but thank you so much for watching, everybody, so far. This show can only grow from here, and yeah, definitely really excited. Keep going with this.
Yeah, and this is something that Nick and we've been chatting about this for months, probably like half a year at this point. Probably since when we met, we're like, yo, gotta talk wrestling on the channel because, we're a bunch of dweebs, pardon my French, but we're a bunch of nerds over here. And a lot of us, or majority of us, love pro wrestling in some way, shape, or form. And with Wrestle Reel, we're really just trying to have fun. And as you can tell, we're out here dressed up like Batman, so if you could even see it. But I'm out here
dressed like Jinder Mahal.
As you should.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm not, but
but I cannot love the show anymore. But this, the fact that we're gradually growing, we're finding our footing still. We're not perfect. Maybe one day we will, like Mr. Perfect. Shout out to Mr. Hennig. But look, I think that we're just gonna have some fun, and today will be no different. We have a lot on the docket today. We're talking about the WWE Draft, which as of this upload will go up. Will probably be happening like an hour later, or if you're watching this, odds are going to watch the draft tonight, or at least keep tabs on it. So go ahead, do that. Are we going to be right? Probably not. Will we be wrong? Odds are. So
that's usually how it ends up going, because WWE, as you know, has been incredibly unpredictable as of late, and I think that that's going to bring us into our number 1.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Nick, because the first thing on the show, and that's a great segue, by the way. Got to give credit where credit's due. Talk about unpredictability. We've been talking about Retribution this whole damn month. I feel like the talk of the town in WWE is Retribution. At least since they debuted, God knows how long ago at this point. We've had one big question. What the hell are they doing? What's their end game? What are they trying to do? But of course, on Raw this past week, they didn't answer that question yet because they're still feuding with their Hurt Business, which I don't like. Why? Who cares? But we now know who's leading Retribution. And Nick?
Yeah. Okay. They introduced us to 5 Soul members the week, and then in the with Bar and other 2 guys. Still can't get my hand around those names yet. I love T-Bar though, as you can see.
T-Bar's the only one I can tell you.
But
and Slapjack.
There's Dio. There's 5 or 6, or there's 4 other people in the ring. Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 1,000,000? Is it Ali? Ali is the leader of Retribution. Where did we see that coming? Did we see that coming? There was a lot of speculation around the hacker a while ago. And I don't know if WWE gave up on the hacker.
Nick, your video is real choppy, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hold on.
You look frozen.
I look frozen?
Oh, you're better now. Yeah, you're better now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I just went into a catatonic state. Anyways, so Retribution, man. My question is for this segment is, were we teased Retribution way before this ever happened with the hacker?
Oh God. So you're the one that put me onto this, is the hacker tying into Retribution thing. Because I didn't think about this at all. I thought they gave up on the hacker months ago. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, I envy you, because I wish I didn't know about this either, because it's so dumb, especially with it not playing out. But for just a little refresher, the hacker was just someone that was popping up on SmackDown, threatening to exploit and to expose the WWE superstars for their wrongdoings, whatever the hell. And a lot of people thought, excuse me, for good reason, that it was Mustafa Ali, because my man at the time was just floating around in the mid card. No idea what the hell his direction of the character was. And his big thing at the time was he was Iron Man with the little hand thing, at the little circle in the hand. That was cool. But when the live crowd went away, like, how's that gonna translate to the at-home viewer? So Ali was already in the standstill, and then he started wrestling Ricochet every main event, whenever the hell main event airs on a Hulu, and no one watches that. So, like, who cares about that? No offense.
I didn't even realize it was on still. I mean, like,
exactly,
those shows never go anywhere. I mean, WWE Superstars, I remember the main event of the first show was Matt Hardy versus The Undertaker, and I never watched it ever again. So main event was never any different for me. But as you told me before the show, that those were actually some pretty good matches, so people tune into some main event.
Yeah, and I mean, what main event and at least Superstars at the time, what they turned into, they had The Undertaker on the first show so they can establish that this is another show for Superstars, pun intended, to be showcased. But all it was the lower mid card and the real lower card to get a chance to wrestle. That's where people like Zack Ryder were wrestling every week. That's where people like Gallows and Anderson, before they got cut, were wrestling every week. That's what the show is relegated towards, and that's where Ali was at until Monday. So this past Monday, what had happened was the Hurt Business, they had an opening in the group, right? Because Cedric Alexander wasn't there, at least from because it was Shelton Benjamin, MVP, and Bobby Lashley. And it's like, so they had an opening for the night. Who can come fill the place? Is it Ricochet? Ooh, is it Mustafa Ali, maybe? So Mustafa ended up going out to the ring with them. And then Mustafa bailed, and Retribution showed up. Oh, wow, Retribution. And they got into the face of Ali as he was on the ramp. And then Ali turns around, and he's like, get him. And us at home were like, what? What, bro? Get him? And then Retribution proceeds to beat down the Hurt Business. So, Nick, I don't know if there's a tie. To answer your question, I don't know if there's a tie into the hacker, because we never got an answer who the hacker was. We never got an answer, and we never will. Unless on SmackDown tonight, they're like, I was the hacker the whole time. Retribution, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's, if they don't acknowledge it tonight, then who cares? Because the worst kept secret in WWE is that Retribution staying on Raw. Fox wants nothing to do with Retribution. Thank God. Hence why SmackDown's the A show. So, I was shook.
So was I, and like I'm wondering if this gets better because Ali is involved. If this actually has a direction now that Ali is involved. My thing with this whole Retribution thing was that, well, let's face it, it didn't make any sense and nobody wanted it. That's the biggest deal that I could pull from this whole entire thing, was that it was interesting at first. This has been a roller coaster. I think that there's no better way to describe Retribution than it's been a roller coaster, because at first I'm like, oh, is this like the Nexus? And then I'm like, oh, why are they wearing Bane masks? And then I'm like, oh, Ali is the leader. And now it's probably, my biggest worry is that this is going to go absolutely nowhere.
And then I think the big thing, at least I don't know if they're going to try to stretch this out over another month, but Survivor Series seems like a place for them to thrive, especially if they have their first real match as a faction. Survivor Series makes sense. Have them face whoever the hell and clean sweep them. I don't know if that's the plan. I hope it's not the Hurt Business. I actually like the Hurt Business a lot as a little group. But that's a late November. That's Thanksgiving WWE pay-per-view territory. The month just started. October just started. September just ended. So we had a lot of time left. And the draft starts tonight. So we're going to see some names get shuffled around. Are some other people going to get involved with Retribution between now and then? Is it going to be the WWE versus Retribution at Survivor Series? Like how they did the Nexus, but at SummerSlam, and they buried the Nexus that one year. Like, it's a mess. And to piggyback off what you said, I hope Ali being a part of this group adds some type of legitimacy. Because let's be real. No one cared, no one was invested in Retribution. The people I've seen on social media be like, "Oh yeah, I like Retribution." I'm like, how? How? On what earth are they cool? You know, like you said, they look like Bane. They have like the Mad Max paint on their face. So I'm like, yo, I don't understand this. And you're telling me that Mustafa Ali, a WWE Mark beloved wrestler, Marks love Mustafa Ali. At least, like I could speak for the both of us in saying that we love Mustafa Ali. He does some pretty great stuff in the ring, and they gave him a little baby push not too long ago. It was great. Yeah. He has some great matches on SmackDown specifically, because anyone goes on Raw is a death wish. You're just asking to get buried if your name's on Seth Rollins. So now that he's the leader, that does beg the question of where the group's going to go. Are we going to see a gear change from Mustafa, a gimmick change from Mustafa? Probably. But
I hope he doesn't wear a mask. Change his name to like Applebee app or something.
I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't change too much. Have T-Bar be the mouthpiece. If we've seen anything that's good out of this damn group, it's T-Bar on Twitter.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's not Dijakovic doing that. There's no way.
Someone's controlling the Retribution Twitter accounts. There's no way. Like I doubt the man formerly known as Dominic Dijak is out here freaking cutting up Chris Jericho on Twitter talking about whatever the hell. Like I can't fathom that. But even with the changes, with Mustafa Ali being there now, it still doesn't make me care about the group. I'm worried about Mustafa as a wrestler, as a singles guy. Because this group could disappear within a month, 2 months. By the end of the year, Retribution may not even exist. So who even knows? But all I do know is that in front of a live crowd, that turn would have been killer. Big pop.
Oh.
Big pop from the live crowd.
For sure. And what's tricky, why it actually works in front of the crowd that they're in right now is who's the heel in this situation?
It's a great point.
Like, are they leading us to like Retribution? Are we supposed to like the Hurt Business? Because don't get me wrong, like you and I can say that we respect the Hurt Business, and MVP is doing incredible things right now. I think that if there is a standout performer for the Hurt Business, and as much as I love Bobby Lashley, and I think he's going to be world champion soon with the Hurt Business being a thing, I think MVP solidified his Hall of Fame career by starting the Hurt Business.
Wow. It's crazy. Like, I totally agree with you. And the best part about the whole like pandemic being still a thing and the wrestlers still going around and wrestling at the PC or whatever the hell. Mm-hmm. A few people exceeded and excelled at the position. Bayley and Sasha, 1,000%. Asuka carried Raw on her back for at least a month over the summer.
Yeah.
And MVP. In front of a crowd, MVP wasn't killing it. He's out here like, oh, I'm retiring. Well, wait, no, I'm back. And I'm retiring again. No, I'm a producer. And then we're all like, what the hell, dude? And then he starts a Hurt Business, and now they're kicking ass on Raw every week. Thank God. They're one of the brighter spots of Raw.
Say what you will about the Hall of Fame. I'll call this the Nick Hall of Fame in that situation, because it's just like there are certain wrestlers that, like, MVP had that illustrious winning streak, and he was this, high profile superstar for such a long time. He was even in the championship scramble match for the WWE Championship, and let's face it, that match.
You should bring those back.
That match was a joke still. Freaking the Brian Kendrick was WWE champion at one point, and I love the Brian Kendrick, but like, we knew that he wasn't going to be the one finishing that match as champion. That would have been some Jinder Mahal shit. But
like 2008.
Right. But MVP has proven that he can be the MVP, no pun intended, the MVP throughout his career. He was given that shit Heath Slater thing for a while where he was losing to legends all the time. And God, I don't even remember. I know that Kazarni was one of the infamous wins.
Yeah. My God.
But anyways, I just think, MVP, let's not ruin the Hurt Business because of Retribution. But I don't know who challenges Retribution. Is Ricochet going to get a bigger spot on the card now because he's going to be going against his friend in Ali? If I was Cedric, that's such an interesting thing that they bring Cedric Alexander into the Hurt Business, right? Because it's like, if I'm Cedric Alexander, he's the perfect character to go after a heel Ali. And now you have him as a smiling heel in Retribution or in the Hurt Business, which good for him. If there's anybody that I think, 205 Live was a joke for a while, but let's face it, there's a lot of guys there. Something that wrestling fans need to understand is that, like, the business is so freaking big and not everybody can be world champion. But if they can but it takes time. It takes time when you have all these different types of wrestlers. It was incredibly smart for them to put the high-flying cruiserweights on their own show for a while. But it takes time to figure out what you're going to do. You're going to need to figure out who are the stronger wrestlers in this feud. Or, in this show. Buddy Murphy. You got friggin' Cedric Alexander, Ali, Ricochet, I would say probably would have fit into that mold, even though he went to NXT. Even the cruiserweights in NXT right now are killing it.
Yeah.
And thank God 205 Live is really not a thing anymore. It is, but it's not. You know what I mean? The 205 Live has become more of a developmental show, because I would have worried that
NXT show.
Yes, I would have been worried that was Johnny Gargano's fate. But let's face it, it takes time to get things right. And if this is going to be what happens, I think that we're going to look back at 205 Live more fondly.
And just to wrap on this Retribution bit, I'm going to echo those statements and those sentiments about Retribution. We could be totally wrong. This could be totally kick-ass by the end of the year. Who knows? All I know is that the pieces they set up and the things that they gave to us so far are not good.
No.
The brightest spot of this is Mustafa Ali, and he was floating around the mid-card for probably a year now, waiting for something to do. And this is what they do to him. They put him in Retribution, a team with no heat, no type of love. But, we'll see what happens. Mustafa could be the game changer. He could be the guy that really takes his team, puts on his back, and runs with it. But I'm so glad you mentioned the 205 guys, because a lot of those guys are either on the main roster now doing double duty, or they're in NXT. And recently, NXT has seen a lot of change as well, especially with how things are presented. NXT had their TakeOver 31 this past Saturday. And we're not going to talk about the whole card, but what I will say about the show, Nick, I don't know if you've seen it or not. It's one of the better takeovers. I know people probably say this all the time about every takeover. That it's the best takeover. That's the best takeover. This one was one of the best takeovers I've ever seen. Like match quality wise, ruled. They had Gargano and Priest go first, and they tore the house down. Absolutely crazy.
Expect that. I expect the first match at any NXT pay-per-view is going to.
It's going to be killer.
It'd be incredible. Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly, and because NXT, that's what they do. But the big story going into TakeOver 31, besides Kyle O'Reilly getting a main event push, shout out to Kyle O'Reilly. We do love O'Reilly over here at Wrestle Reel. But they got a new setup. They called it the Capitol Wrestling Center, and they changed the whole stage at the Performance Center to accommodate for NXT. Presumably, this would be the new home for NXT, probably going forward. At least until things are right in the world, and then we see what goes on after that. But for the time being, the Capitol Wrestling Center will be the home for NXT. And they did essentially it looks like the Thunderdome with the screens are allowing fans back in, a limited number, but they're letting fans back in. And they got like a black cage wrapping around the ring. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it has like a proper stage setup, just like how the Thunderdome does in Orlando. But I mean, how kick-ass was this before the show even started? I mean, NXT, they've been fighting AEW for a year now. It's been a year.
It has.
On Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And they've won 1 week out of the last 52 in the ratings. I believe they won once. Every other week they won, they lost to AEW.
Yeah.
So now that NXT has this new arena, this new look essentially, and a kick-ass roster, kick-ass wrestling, the future NXT to me looks bright as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there's no doubt that NXT is for the wrestling fan, but so is AEW. I would argue that as well. So there's no doubt. I wonder if Super Tuesday is going to become more of a thing now.
Maybe
because
especially
they weren't winning their way
anymore. Going around and stuff.
But think about it. It took WWE. If they really were that worried about AEW, they would have tried to move SmackDown to Wednesday nights, and there goes AEW. WWE knows what they have in NXT, and they are more than willing to put the time and the effort into creating something incredibly special for it, like the Capitol Wrestling Center, in order to make it the absolute best that it can be. Because I honestly think that WWE sees NXT as a showcase of their talent now. And clearly, like I said, they would have done something stupid, like added a third main roster show to take out AEW. But no, they're going, hey, look at that real wrestling over there. And by real wrestling, I mean marquee wrestling.
Mm-hmm. The flips and stuff.
I will show you our marquee wrestling.
NXT.
And, yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just, they're putting the effort into it. And I think that we're going to get into later when we talk about the draft that they're probably going to put even more effort into it. And I worry about that, but go on.
And I mean, yeah, sometimes it could be as if NXT is overdoing it just a little bit. But I mean, especially with what we saw on Saturday from TakeOver, every match was great from top to bottom. Whether Priest or Gargano, all the way down to the bottom with the main event of Balor and O'Reilly, and both those guys got hurt halfway through the match. Like, oh my God, Finn Balor's bleeding out of his mouth. Like, it was nuts. And the match quality is insane at NXT. If you already aren't watching NXT, what a huge mistake. Please go out and just watch these matches. If you have the network, watch the takeovers. Jesus. They've had 31 of them. Every single one of them is at least good. Yeah. None of them are bad. NXT's yet to put on a bad takeover, and that is freaking crazy to even think about. Flawless with pay-per-views. They're flawless. And the fact that these divisions are only getting more hefty So before injuries happened, Karrion Kross was supposed to be the champ. He was the guy. And I mean, unfortunately, he got injured. But when he comes back, Karrion Kross is going to be the jam.
Yeah.
They got Damian Priest. They got the former Punishment Martinez, the D-Braz voice. He's your North American champion. You have Finn Balor, this old-ass man by NXT standards, being your champ, and he is killing it every single week. That Fatal 4, they had a Fatal 4-Way Iron Man match on free TV featuring 4 of their best male competitors.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's nuts. They can flex like that because they have the wherewithal to do it and the quality of wrestler to do it. And on Saturday, they just bolstered their already stacked women's division with Toni Storm coming over from NXT UK and Ember Moon, who came back from her Achilles injury.
Yeah, which we were wrong. Well, did we say there was a chance it would be Ember? I think we did. But
I want to say, I mean, if one of us said it was you, it was definitely not me. I was convinced it was Bo Dallas in regards to who's the whole biker helmet gimmick person. But I'm happy it was Ember Moon. And now she's back. Imagine an Io Shirai Ember Moon match. A Toni Storm Ember Moon match. Toni Storm Io Shirai. Are we spoiled? I don't know what we did to deserve this.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad I did it. So glad we did it. Because now we're gonna see these matches. And it's gonna be absolutely stellar watching these things. Granted, when we get to the draft, we'll talk about the draft in a second. But the draft could screw all of this up.
Well, I do want to get into that when we do talk about the draft. And we could wrap up on this soon because the draft is so exciting to talk about. But I just want to make one point. Can we talk a little bit about the ending of NXT TakeOver?
Yeah. Yes.
So, I'm not as familiar with the wrestler that came out. And
Ridge Holland.
Yes. Care to explain to the viewers at home what exactly happened at the end of NXT TakeOver 31?
So, Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly were having probably the match of the year. If not, it's one of them because this match kicked ass on every level. And all of a sudden, Ridge Holland, who was super over babyface on Wednesday. Yeah, that was. But he's this jacked dude. For those who don't know, he's a bigger guy. He's super jacked. He had Adam Cole just he was carrying him and just decked his ass, right? And Ridge Holland had there's no lead into this. There's no tease towards alignment with Finn Balor. We don't know if Finn's with this guy. But everyone's assumption going into the match with O'Reilly and Balor was that something was going to happen with Undisputed Era. And something still could be happening with Undisputed Era. Fish and Strong. I wonder what's going on with Shaw back there. But Cole and O'Reilly, they're the baby faces. At least they're the ones that have been giving off those babyface vibes the past couple weeks. Now, Ridge Holland comes out of nowhere and visibly destroyed Adam Cole. And Balor beat Riley clean. So what is the future of Ridge Holland, Finn Balor, and these two guys of Undisputed Era? We have no idea, at least as of this recording. But what's going on with this show is that, especially with the draft, and we'll get to the draft in a second, but NXT stays on their toes. They stay swerving the hell out of us, the fan. Because we, the fan, think, oh, we know what's up. We know everything. We know what's going to happen. No, the hell we don't. And
Not
NXT, exactly. NXT knows, if they know how to, if any show knows how to work the fan, it's NXT. They're like the edge of WWE programming. They know how to work the fan. We can't believe anything that NXT even teases us. It was every clue that they gave us about the biker helmet person was a perfect nod to Bo Dallas, who was one of the few wrestlers that was surprisingly not released when the time came. So I wonder what the future of him's going to be.
Yeah.
But They gave us Ember Moon. Holy hell. Ember Moon's back after possibly not. She said on, I think it was, what was that Fox show they did? Oh my God. The Fox Sports show that they did. I'm already forgetting the name of it. I don't know and I don't care. The one that Renee Young hosted. But they tease like, yo, like Ember Moon may not wrestle again. Like that sucks. Like that thought sucked. And then here she is. She's about to have matches with Io Shirai and Toni Storm on NXT. Oh my God, yes, please. But NXT just knows what's up. They know exactly what they're doing. And just to segue into our third count, Triple H was asked multiple times over the last couple of weeks during conference calls, what is the future of NXT? And he even said, at least he might be working us too. He said he had no idea what their draft presence was, but I think we can at least have an idea of what their draft presence is going to be. The WWE Draft starts tonight, and we over here at Wrestle Reel love us a good draft. The draft is interesting. Talk about swerves aplenty. Everyone can get tossed around now. These storylines you like right now may not exist by the end of the week. So, or at least both guys will be on different, or both ladies will be on different shows, and we'll get to that in a second. But Nick, I want to play this little game with you.
All right.
What we're gonna do is I put my mic down. What we're gonna do is we're going to go through. We're not going to do everybody. That's a little too much. But we're going to go through some of the bigger names, maybe some of the smaller names for fun. And we're going to talk about if they should go to Raw or SmackDown. And I'll even state what show they're on right now, just to give a little context. Okay. And I feel like I want to start with someone who's big, someone that could shock the system. It's not UE. Don't get excited. It's I want to talk about Seth Rollins and the future of where Seth Rollins is going to be by the end of the draft. For those who don't know, the draft starts tonight, the 9th, and will end on Monday with Raw. So picks can be swapped throughout the night, and that's if it stays between the two brands, but we'll get to NXT in a little bit. But Raw and SmackDown, please, Nick, where do you think Seth Rollins will be by the end of the draft?
Raw. I think he's going to stay on Raw. I think that I tried to do a drum roll, but then I was like, this is going to take too long if I got a drum roll for every single pick.
Put it in post.
Raw, because I don't think that I think that this Dominic Mysterio feud with Buddy Murphy and all that, it's never going to end, and it's got Raw written all over it because it's stupid, and Raw can be very stupid.
Okay, so WWE released this thing on social media of a few superstars who have not changed shows since the draft. The new modern draft had happened 4 years ago. And one of them was Seth Rollins. He's been on Raw forever now.
Yeah.
And if y'all watch Spin from the Reel, y'all already know how notorious I am for getting predictions incorrect. So take everything I say right now going forward the grain of salt. With that being said, I want something freaking crazy to happen. I want like something to rock my world. I want a pick just to be like, like, you know, like that's how crazy it's going to get. And unfortunately, that will not happen with Seth. He's totally staying on Raw, 1,000%. Like, well, they halfway need him.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking, because there's no way that Rollins is going to face against Reigns right now. So if you want to have a top viable heel after Randy Orton gets drafted to SmackDown, I'm kidding. You're going to have, because I don't think he's going to. You're going to have Seth face against Drew, and I think that makes sense.
Yes. And I think the safe assumption before we continue with the names is that the champions will stay with their respective brands. That's the assumption, right. Unless you are the Intercontinental or United States champion. Those always flip. If they're going to swap brands, they will flip. So I do think, like, just so we can say it now, Drew will stay with Raw, Roman with SmackDown. It makes sense.
Yes. And I would like to acknowledge that with that, I think that the Usos, for the reason of I think that there's this something brewing with the Usos and Roman Reigns are staying on SmackDown as well. So if you even want to graze over that pick right now or even say your 2 cents on it, personally, I think that there is a bloodline stable with Paul Heyman coming with Roman Reigns, and they're going to stay on SmackDown. So
yes, but I do agree with you. The Usos will stay together on SmackDown, but for a little bit of a different reason. I think they're going to extend this whole Jay single star thing for a little bit, just for a little bit, while Jimmy's still out. When Jimmy comes back, then by all means. But as of right now, Jay's by himself, and another superstar, with the Achilles injury, and Jimmy Uso. I mean, I can't wait till Jimmy comes back. But Jay beat AJ Styles clean on SmackDown last week. And I know you didn't feel too kindly about it when you were live tweeting SmackDown, but I kind of, if anyone could take a clean pin like that, it's AJ Styles, 1,000%, and it did not hurt AJ in the slightest, at least in my opinion. I don't think AJ lost any stock. I don't think he is viewed any less because of that. Because he put over Jay, and that's awesome. Because when's the last time Jay got a singles win on SmackDown? Probably never. So I'm cool with that. But I do think at some point that stable thing just makes sense.
It's going to happen.
It makes sense. Just do the damn thing. Especially if they're going to have those mid-card belts swap shows. But I actually want to go back to a wrestler that you already mentioned and talk about why I think he's going to swap brands. I think Randy Orton will go to SmackDown.
Okay.
Even though they did announce on Raw that Randy Orton's going to face Drew McIntyre at Hell in a Cell, brother, I still think that they can still they could still have that match. Orton's going to lose. Haven't showed up on SmackDown because what the hell? What's Orton going to do after this? What's he going to do?
That's I don't.
He's going to lose.
He's going to lose. He should. I hope that we get a good match from him, but I think that he is going to end up losing this match.
Yeah, I think he's gonna drop the ball at Hell in a Cell, go to SmackDown, or at some point, even if he doesn't get drafted right now, trade him halfway through the year and send him over to SmackDown before WrestleMania. Because what the hell is he gonna do on Raw now? He was murdering people for a bit. They had the perfect end to this feud at what was the show called? Clash of Champions. The perfect end. Keep Orton off TV for 2 weeks, do the draft, have him show up on SmackDown, RKO somebody, and bang. There we go. Problem solved. But no, that's too easy, I guess. That's way too easy.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna
You know what's funny? Isn't that the case though? For a couple of years ago when they had that terrible Funhouse horror match or whatever with Bray. Wasn't Randy heading over to another brand?
Well, no, he won the belt.
Or Bray was heading over to another brand. Somebody was heading over to another brand.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was incredibly. Just if that happens, I just hope that the match between Drew and Randy is meaningful. And isn't like we got bugs freaking projected onto the freaking ring and stuff like that, because that shit was stupid.
Unnecessary. Yeah, and it was stupid, for lack of a better word. But no, I think that Hell in a Cell match would be the end of the McIntyre-Orton feud. Orton can definitely still harass Drew McIntyre from a SmackDown taping instead of a Raw taping. I think they'll be fine. Or even have Randy show up on Raw next couple weeks and then have him be permanently on Raw when he loses. And speaking of people who are crossing over shows, someone I think is going to cross over to Raw after what happened in the last couple weeks is the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. In losing a big superstar, or in getting a big superstar like Randy Orton, you have to lose some as well. And I think, unfortunately, as great as his character has been lately, I think the Fiend will go over to Raw to inevitably be ruined. But before that happens, I think Bray's going to have a good time on Raw, just screwing with Kevin Owens, because at least that's what they're teasing so far the last week and a half. So I think it's going to continue. Kevin Owens will stay on Raw, and the Fiend will hop shows from SmackDown to Raw and probably take Alexa Bliss with him.
Here is where I want to disagree with you. Wobbly Walrus. Wobbly Walrus is the key to everything, and I can't even believe that those words came out of my mouth.
That was one hell of a sentence.
But, well, there's two things. Alexa's stare down of Roman and Wobbly Walrus, to me, make the most sense that eventually they're going to go back to that route. I will give you a big trade of superstars for that same reason of them appearing already cross-brand. Mm-hmm. I think that Braun Strowman is going to Raw for Randy Orton. In that case.
Yeah.
Because
he
faced Keith Lee. He's been showing up, facing against the Hakeem the African Dream on whatever that guy's name is.
You're talking about
Tamatanga or whatever his name is. I can't even remember.
I know. What is? I'm gonna look up his name. Keep talking. Go ahead.
And he faced against Keith Lee. But
Tunde, the guy that was Baba Tunde,
whatever. No,
that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
You know, Braun has new ring gear. Showing up with that shirt on and his pants. I just think that I think that Braun's time on SmackDown is up. Where I think that the Fiend, they're teasing more with Bray. You know, I just think that, I think that this SmackDown or this Kevin Owens stuff is a stopgap. Because, and frankly, I don't even understand why it's happening, to be honest with you.
They chose Kevin Owens.
But then again, well, that's exactly what it is, because clearly he's not going to be feuding with Roman right now. But I think that it's coming. I don't know in what capacity it will be coming, but it's coming. And I that's, the issue with it is just that, like, I don't see the Fiend winning on either show right now, and I want him to so badly.
I know.
I love the Firefly Funhouse segment. It's just so much fun. It's exactly what I wanted in a wrestling gimmick. It's like, I've written this movie before, I swear, in my head. But like, that is the big thing, is that just don't ruin Braun. I mean, don't ruin Braun, to be honest. Like, if Braun goes to Raw, I could see him being an amazing feud that he will end up losing to Drew. Honestly.
Oh yeah.
But sorry, yeah. Go on to the next one that you got for me.
So, I'm so glad you're out here mentioning people potentially being ruined, because I have a theory in regards to a feud that's currently on SmackDown that I think has been hot as hell for multiple reasons, and I think it doesn't deserve the ending that it can get right now with what's going on in the country. But let's delay it for as long as we can and give it a proper WrestleMania match. I think Sasha Banks should go to Raw as soon as she possibly can. Only Sasha, not Bayley. And I know this. They have they want to do the Hell in the Cell thing. Don't have a way to not do this match. Can we? Okay, let me try to fantasy book this for you.
Okay.
So imagine Sasha gets drafted to Raw. They nix the Hell in the Cell potential match, right? And Sasha goes to Raw and she's like, WTF, bro. Like, I'm on Raw. This sucks. She has the Raw. She does the Raw thing. She wrestles Asuka, wrestles whoever the hell's over there. because boy, does Raw need a facelift. Oh my Lord and Jesus. And I'll get to Raw in a second. But Sasha does that thing. The Royal Rumble comes in January. She wins the damn thing. And she faces Bayley, going back to SmackDown, besting Bayley at WrestleMania. That is the best way to perfectly end this. Hopefully, if everything's right in the world and people wear their masks, we can finally have fans at WrestleMania again. And we can have that match at, I think they're trying to do it at the Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, or because they're not doing it in California, let's be real. But have them do it in Tampa, have that match pay off at WrestleMania, how it should be with fans there.
I couldn't agree more. I don't think that's another one that just unfortunately I don't think is going to happen, because at the same time, here's what I'll say, a rebuttal, okay? Because that's what we do here. We discuss. Yes, is what's going to happen with Bayley? She going to face Nikki Cross for the 300th time? Valid. SmackDown needs Sasha as much as Raw needs, because let's face it, if we're going to be throwing the NXT superstars into this, the women's division needs a facelift, because you have two incredibly strong women leading it right now. Okay, I didn't think that I was ever going to say this, but the women's division needs Charlotte. Anna needs Becky. Anna needs Becky.
Oh, when she comes back from her baby.
Yes. I mean, I'm not saying it's just Charlotte, but like, I think that they either need to start building people a little bit better, or they need to get these women back, or bring NXT people back up. But I like your idea of fantasy booking, because I got one that I think you're going to like. Talk about wrestlers. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What's up? No, go ahead.
No, what were you saying?
We'll save the NXT peeps, because we definitely have some thoughts about some NXT people joining the main roster. But we'll get to that in a second. But please go ahead with your thought.
Okay. Talk about wrestlers not getting their just due, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know that he's one half of the tag team champions right now, but let's move Cesaro over to Raw. Let's have him feud with Drew McIntyre, and let's have him win. And then you hear that music, and my draft pick to Raw is Otis! Woo!
Oh no!
And you have Otis win his WWE Championship just like he deserves. Ha!
No!
I got you there.
You had me for a second, bro. You had me.
I think
it's like Nick listened to me last week's show. He did this just for me.
I agree with your Cesaro statement. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's gonna happen right now. But
ouch.
Let's and if I'm gonna be honest, I'm actually being serious here. I don't know what this is gonna end with this whole Money in the Bank thing, but I think that it makes sense. Give Mandy and Otis what they want, and move Otis to move Heavy Machinery to Raw, because I mean let's think about it. I think that it would be fine to see matches between Heavy Machinery and Street Profits, whatever. I mean, you have stuff there to you have stuff there. I just think that this whole Morrison and Miz thing has run its course. Yes. If you're going to, I think that my biggest thing is that as much as I didn't want Otis to win Money in the Bank, there's a part of me that wants to think something is going to come of it. And if Otis remains on SmackDown, there is absolutely no chance in hell. No. You've got those. There is absolutely no chance in hell that he is going to beat Roman Reigns.
No.
And I'm not trying to be like, oh, Drew, the unfortunate thing about it is that Drew has had this incredibly meaningful title reign. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that he's going to beat Roman. And if I want there to be that sliver of hope that something's going to come of Money in the Bank, it's going to be that he moves to Raw.
I stand by my statement last week when I did my high spot. I think they will get that briefcase off of him as soon as possible. who the hell knows who gets it? I mean, as of last week's show, I wanted it to be Morrison, but it could be Cesaro if they both swap shows together. But I'm glad you mentioned tag teams because what do you think of the New Day? Because I would love them on Raw. Raw needs more people. They need more, especially in the tag division. How about a New Day Street Profits match, bro?
I just think that the challenge right now is that they're both hurt.
Yeah.
Because I think that Xavier Woods and Kofi
keep having Big E do single stuff on Raw.
Because, well, you know, you say move Big E to, or you say move the New Day to Raw, and all I'm thinking is that Monday night, if they move from SmackDown to Raw, I can totally see Drew calling an open challenge and having Big E come out. He's not going to win, but I think that would be another thing moment, to just. Though. I mean, Keith Lee versus Big E. Oh my gosh, I would love to see that. Even Randy Orton versus Big E. Would love to. You know, I think that they're going to keep pushing this Sheamus thing until we're blue in the face. They'll have a match at Hell in a Cell. That's the trouble that I'm having. I know that like WWE is okay with like dropping, you know, feuds whenever they want, whatever.
They'll even let the feuds ride out after the draft and then just nix them the second the matches are done.
They will. And
they're no stranger to it.
They aren't, no. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it.
It's a matter of time before Xavier comes back. I think they might have read. I don't know if Kofi's legitimately injured. If so, I don't know what it is that he's injured of. Like I don't know what part of his body's hurt. They may have just written him off TV to give Big E his little singles push. But it'd be one hell of an entrance seeing the New Day come back as a group. But still let Big E do his thing. Don't get me wrong. He can still totally do it and have Kofi and Xavier do the tag team stuff. I would love to see the two of them be in the match against Street Profits. Two of them be facing off against whoever the hell else. Because they just need more help. Raw needs more help.
Yeah.
And with that, I don't know about you, but AJ Styles is someone that he can adapt well on either show. He has his best work on SmackDown by far, no competition. Like just look back at his career; all his big moments came from SmackDown, and I mean that's just the way it is. But he at least reportedly escaped doing he escaped Raw so he cannot be on the Paul Heyman show. And then Paul Heyman showed up on SmackDown.
Paul Heyman showed up on SmackDown, yeah.
And now he what's the future of AJ Styles? I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but I would not be surprised if he goes back to Raw.
Yeah. I that was one of my means of thinking is that there's a chance. I mean, why not? Another good feud for AJ if he remains heel.
And you can turn him heel, have him McIntyre Styles matches. I would love to see that. Mm-hmm. That would be killer. I would yes, please. Give me all that and more. So like Raw just needs such a facelift, bro. And even if that requires sending over some other people like Lacey Evans, get her on Raw. Come on, she can stay there. Who else? Nikki Cross. I can send her to Raw too. To answer your question about who is Bayley going to face after that, I mean, Naomi's been someone that's been heavily underutilized, especially after she came back and people were like, yo, Naomi's back. Yeah. And she's a former SmackDown Women's Champion herself. So that's something I'd be down to see more of, Naomi versus Bayley at some point. But before we move on to NXT, Nick, is there another superstar on your radar that you think is going to swap shows? We're not going to talk general thoughts of the draft yet, but give me like just superstars from Raw or SmackDown that may hop shows in your opinion.
Well, I said
Cesaro one on me, got me excited.
What's that?
You got the Cesaro one on me, and it got me excited.
They're gonna stay on SmackDown. You know, I was thinking of a hypothetical that would move Sammy to Raw and move I don't know, Apollo Crews to SmackDown, because I don't think that the Hurt Business is going to go over to Raw. But to SmackDown. But then I had like Civil War or Vietnam War flashbacks of the Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn feud, and I hate that. So
yeah, no, yes,
I don't know. Because the singles championships would have been really interesting. I mean, maybe you could swap tag team championships. I don't think that that's ever really been done before in the capacity of the new belts. I know that it's been done before in the capacity of like when it was the World Tag Team Championships and the WWE Championship. Maybe, I guess he has no home, but maybe John Cena could go from SmackDown to Raw to SmackDown again. That'd be really cool.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I hated that. That was one of the worst drafts I ever watched, was when John Cena got drafted to SmackDown. And I was so excited because I loved the idea of John Cena on SmackDown again. And then God. You know,
it was like the SmackDown colored blue balls, you know, like it's like, yo, like John Cena on SmackDown again. Yes. Like our Savior's home. Like,
yeah,
it's like second coming of Jesus when Cena was going to be on SmackDown again. And then, nope. Now it's a big deal when Cena shows up on SmackDown, but it's like, come on, man. I'd love to see that. Like, I hated that moment so much. I hated it.
How about Goldberg to SmackDown? No, I'm just kidding. There's two incredible dark horses that I want you to hear me out for, and then we can talk NXT.
Yes.
And that is Brock to SmackDown. Or it rhymes with Brock.
Oh, hell.
You are insane.
Because that could be your WrestleMania match right there.
Oh, well, Rock Roman?
Yeah. I don't want it to be, but I think that I honestly, unfortunately, think that The Rock is going to win the Royal Rumble this year. Which I don't want whatsoever. I know that our high spot's different this week, but like, I don't want him to win the Royal Rumble at all whatsoever, but I think it's a possibility. Because I think that here's where this Roman feud is going. Is that it's going to be family against family for a little bit. Then that stable is going to form. Then he's going to beat the Fiend a lot. And then guess what? Who's going to be there to be like, this isn't how family works, Roman. Family. And then we're going to get a fucking Hollywood Hogan heel or face turn in the middle of the fucking ring with The Rock. And The Rock is going to bring his cousin back to the light side. And we're either going to love it or we're going to hate it. And yeah, I think that that's how the feud ends. I don't know if it means that on Friday night that I don't think that I think you have a better chance of Brock coming back. And because you don't use The Rock at the Thunderdome. I still think that it ends with... I think that you could be seeing a Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns Royal Rumble match. And then after that, you're going to see The Rock versus Roman Reigns.
If we see... Okay. I know The Rock's been teasing it himself, which is Rock don't do that. Dwayne just don't do that. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna be at WrestleMania. They will not lock arms to WrestleMania, and it would have to be in front of fans. That's the crazy part. I don't think Dwayne would do it with no fans.
Probably not.
Hell on earth. They'll shucks. I don't think they're gonna do the proper drafting of The Rock. Because that'll imply way too much. He might just show up at the Rumble, like magical number 30. It's you just hear this man's voice.
It's a man! What the Rock is cooking!
And then the man comes out and he does his whole gimmick, and then he goes to the Rumble, like does his little open hand punches and beats the shit out of everybody. That would be one. That'd be one big ass pop. I would pop here.
I know. So would I. I think that we all would. I will always tell the story that I hate watching Brock Lesnar on TV, but when you're in the middle of when you're in a crowd of people and then out of nowhere you hear that music, even though if you know he's coming, you just go, oh my God, it's Brock Lesnar. The same thing is going to happen when Dwayne The Rock Johnson wins the friggin' Royal Rumble this year, and I'm going to...
oh God, I didn't even think about that. I don't want him to...
That said, Brock to SmackDown. Brock to SmackDown is my...
That'd be a killer one.
Is what I think is... I'm willing to say that there's a 70%... Well, I think that there's a 70% chance... There's a 50% chance that they say he's on SmackDown now. He's not going to show up. Because he's going to show up out of fucking nowhere and possibly be your Survivor Series feud. Although I think the Survivor Series is going to be Fiend versus Roman.
Oh, geez, that's
because Paul Heyman, pairing Roman with Paul Heyman is just like putting the Wobbly Walrus with the Fiend. Is just that, they're creating segments between Wobbly Walrus and Paul Heyman, and they're creating segments where the Fiend or Bray Wyatt goes after Roman, but at the same time, pairing Roman with Brock or with Paul is very obviously putting him in a situation where Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the 1 millionth time, except one's going to be the face and the other one's going to be the heel.
Oh, that's man. At no point have I thought about Brock. It's kind of a good thing. It's been a while. But part of me thinks he'll stay on Raw because that's Vince's boy, and he might not even come back this year because fans aren't present as much as they used to be. So who even knows the future of Brock Lesnar? But odds are his name will be mentioned at some point over the course of the 2 nights.
Well, because if I'm going to be honest with you, Fox wants Brock.
Oh, of course they do. Who doesn't?
Wait. Brock's on SmackDown.
Brock's on a Raw. He dropped the belt to McIntyre at WrestleMania. And we haven't seen him since. Yeah,
but I thought that inaugural SmackDown night, Brock beats Kofi Kingston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he swapped shows.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think that there's a chance that Brock gets mentioned on. It gets mentioned that Brock is, or they say they have like an undisclosed pick or something like that, and if they're going undisclosed pick, I'm going to be honest, it's Brock Lesnar.
It'll be the worst kept secret on the planet. The only thing that will keep us not thinking it's Brock is if it's Rock. That's the only thing that makes sense. But let's we've been hyping up NXT this whole time. We'll do a little rapid fire ski. So Nick, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to name a wrestler from NXT, a woman or a man. All you have to do is tell me if they're gonna go to NXT or stay in NXT or go to the main roster. And just for fun, if they go to the main roster, what show they're gonna be on. I'm not gonna do everybody, just gonna name a few. But I feel like there's one real obvious one or 2 real obvious ones. So let's start with Adam Cole.
It's the tough one. I think he stays in NXT right now, especially after this British guy picked him up and threw him around or whatever.
Oh, Rich Holland, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll be a Rumble one if he comes up within the year. He'll be
the Rumble guy or the day after WrestleMania guy. I think Adam Cole still has some work to do in NXT, unless that's how they write him off, like what happened on TakeOver. But I mean, this spoiler alert, this was taped before NXT, so we'll see what happens. And if we get it corrected, we'll correct ourselves on the show next week. Austin Theory, does he go back to the main roster?
Not yet. They brought him down there for a reason.
That's a great point. Yeah, they're gonna keep his ass down.
They could have easily kept him with Seth, but he's a little green right now. He'll be back, but he needs a little work.
Speaking of people that need work, Velveteen Dream.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna keep him as far away from the main roster as they possibly can right now. As much as I would love for him to be on SmackDown, I think that they're going to keep him far away until all this stuff, whether it's true or not, blows over.
If he's the worst, if everything that's out there about him is true, which I mean, we're not going to talk about it here. If you want to go look at it yourself, by all means, go crazy. If it's true, it's really messed up, and I revoke my fandom of the Velveteen Dream. I'm already teetering on the fence because like what the hell. But for now, I think he'll stay at NXT too. It's hard to even just talk about this because how uncomfortable the topic is.
It is, and there's no glorifying it. NXT is the perfect place for him when there's no Thunderdome there and stuff like that. There might be a little bit of fandom there, but they can control it there. So no.
Chelsea Green. She split
Raw.
from the. Oh, nice.
I thought she was though. I thought she was the blonde lady for a while.
Oh, did you? You thought that was wow?
It was speculated, and I'm like, maybe. But I kind of at heart I knew that it was either Carmella or Bo Dallas. So yeah.
You said Bo Dallas?
It was a joke.
That went over my head for a second. I had to go back and get it. I'm like, wait, what? I didn't see that. That would have been interesting. But speaking of people who stay in the same brand for the last 4 years, Carmella, she's always been on SmackDown. So I mean, good for her. She might go to Raw too. I mean,
I think that that makes sense.
Oh geez, there are two obvious ones, and I think we can chat about them now. Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae as a duo. I don't think they're going to split anytime soon. WWE likes to keep their couples together. We've seen that with Aleister Black.
SmackDown.
Nick, we talked about this before the show started. If Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae show up on Raw, I will weep. I will cry human tears.
I will eat my microphone.
Don't say that now. Take it back.
Okay.
Because they might actually be on Raw. Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano, they'd be perfect on SmackDown. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And with how many of them, as unfortunate as it sounds, the mid-card, lower mid-card players are going to swap shows a bunch. The Shorty G's of the world. Unfortunately, the Ricochets, they're going to be swapping shows like crazy. Yeah. Johnny Gargano on SmackDown just makes sense. Candice LeRae on SmackDown makes sense. You mentioned earlier Charlotte going to SmackDown. I don't think that'd be necessary if you have Candice LeRae. At least not yet. So Candice LeRae, what she's doing now is some of the best work that I've seen her do since the Joey Ryan days. Like she's done some incredible stuff. But I would love to see Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae on SmackDown. It just makes so much sense. It's perfect. It's absolutely
205
perfect.
Live. You're right.
No, oh God. I mean, they haven't. No, Johnny hasn't even been on 205 Live, right? Thank God. At least not to my knowledge.
I don't think so.
And geez. We saw. Here, we'll end with this one. We saw this man lose again at TakeOver to Santos Escobar, and that is Isaiah Swerve Scott.
Yeah. 205 Live. I'm kidding.
Jesus.
I unfortunately was like, oh, that dude's gonna be a cruiserweight. I don't want him to be. It's
he might
just
fall
like
into the Cedric Alexander Ricochet
I'm
category.
a bit worried about him moving too early right now because I think that he needs some meaningful matches to win.
I would
so
like him to win a belt.
Yes, so let's keep him on NXT right now. Have him build a little bit of cred and have him start a feud with Damian Priest.
Oh, word! I can rock with that.
Because I like Isaiah Swerve Scott. I just think that he needs something. And I don't think that sending a guy, I'm not trying to say, like, there's so many wrestlers out there. And I'm not trying to, this isn't any hate towards him. But here's what I'm going to say about that. And I imagine that most casual wrestling fans who don't keep up with the NXTs of the world are going to care as much as, say, a Gargano debuts or even, and I don't mean to joke about stuff like this, but like Velveteen Dream would stir the pot more. If I personally do not give a shit about it, I would not freak out if Isaiah or if Swerve debuted right now.
Understood. Yeah.
So, especially with the fact that he's lost now in 2 takeovers in a row.
Yeah.
There are certain superstars that I can totally see. Even a Santos Escobar right now. Like, I think he's pretty hot right now. Dropped the Cruiserweight Championship, obviously, from him. But, like, and this isn't me being, if Scott won the Cruiserweight Championship, good for him. Because I think that is a stepping stone to a great career right now. Is holding that belt.
Santos Escobar is making it, like, worth something.
There's a lot of superstars who have been making it worth something. Even Drake Maverick not winning the belt made it worth something.
Yeah, got him a contract, baby.
So, give a guy like that time. I feel like it's a daily. It is an episode thing where I unplug my microphone at least 3 times. Because I'm so excited to talk about Swerve. No, I am. I'm excited to talk about Swerve because I want him to do well. It's just like, did he beat Gargano?
I want to say so.
Because if not, then that's 3 pay-per-views in a row. It's just like, build the name. Eventually, I think that he's going to do great things on the main roster. It's just give it time.
Exactly.
That's the line because Goldberg says so.
Word.
Not where you thought I was going there.
No, but are there any last draft predictions? Whether it's how the show will be presented, any surprise appearances, any last things before we move on to the high spot of the week?
Well, okay. So here's a couple of them. I think that who are the general managers of Raw and SmackDown right now?
There are none. Last year they did. It was USA and Fox. Those are the reps.
Okay. Here's what I think is going to end up happening. Never mind. Because I think if Stephanie and Shane come out, even though they're really not the representatives, then unfortunately Triple H is going to come out. I want that moment where I'm in the process of like watching Stephanie and Shane go at it, and then out of nowhere I hear dun, 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 with William Regal coming out.
That's hard. That'd be so hard. I love that.
Apparently killed me to sing that entrance. I want. Here's my draft worry. Okay, NXT is a great place unless if you are a main roster WWE superstar who's going down to NXT, then that means there better be a gimmick change or something for you. I think at the time when Finn Balor went to NXT, they needed him because of the AEW situation.
Oh, yeah.
But now that that's happened and NXT has been what it has been for the past year, then if there's a superstar coming to SmackDown or to NXT, that means they are a project, which is a good thing because NXT has been great to people. But like, for me to say that there's nothing for a Seth Rollins to go to NXT, I don't mean it in the way. I mean it in like, if Seth Rollins went to NXT, he better be NXT champion again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And with that, I think there's a difference between Finn Balor, who's been there for a year now and didn't immediately become champion again, and a Seth Rollins who doesn't need it going there. So all I'm going to say at the end of the day is, if you are in NXT, or if you're going to NXT for the draft, for the love of God, let's hope that you're a project that's going to flourish.
Exactly. Or
you're a former NXT guy.
Yeah, like Ember Moon, who she ran
Bobby
reports on the
Roode.
main roster. Oh,
Send Nakamura back to NXT.
yes, please.
And, you know, even so, with that, you know, I could go like, oh my gosh, an NXT or Nakamura needs to be on NXT. Bobby Roode needs to be on NXT. I'm not saying that a Kevin Owens needs to be on NXT. I'm not saying that like a Samoa Joe. Well, maybe Samoa Joe, to be honest. I don't know if he ever comes back. A Sami Zayn does not need to be on NXT. But if you are a former NXT champion and you are not doing jack shit right now on the main roster, and I'm talking to you, Rude, and I know he just came back, and I'm talking to you, Nakamura, two guys that I think deserve the entire world, and I want to see flourish. You better be going back to NXT, and you better be building your name back up. So when you go back to the main roster, it means something again. You know, I want Finn Balor becoming the first ever Universal Champion coming from NXT to mean something again. Thank you. Because, wow, you used one on me. It is not meant, the call up to NXT or from NXT to me has not meant as much as it has in the past. So I'm going to be honest, my expectations are incredibly low for whoever goes from NXT to the main roster, but my expectations are incredibly high for whoever goes down again. Because I'm not considering it going down. I am considering it, you are a champion. And you deserve to be a champion, so you better be a champion.
That was wow. I mean, I echo all those sentiments and more. And
I have a few of them in me every once in a while, so.
And
hey.
I mean, that was great. Because that's exactly what it is. If you get the demotion to NXT, and if you're a main roster superstar, you should be. It's NXT. Let's be real. All these people are either homegrown or they're coming from the indies. And if you're on the WB main roster and you're going down to NXT, like, you should be whooping ass. I mean, we saw Finn Balor do that for the last year, and now he's champ. And hopefully one day he'll go back to the main roster. But, I mean, we'll see what happens with that. The only thing I beg and plead for with the draft, don't do those cringy-ass War Room segments again. For the love of God, they're so gross and dumb. We're smarter than that. We're not dumb. Just tell us who's picking who. Have a rep. or have multiple reps come out and be like, SmackDown picks this person, Raw picks this person. That's great. That's all I need. And I echo literally everything Nick just said. If you're coming up from NXT, I'm so sorry. My expectations are super low for you. Keith Lee being Exhibit A. With that being said, speaking of expectations being super low, let's talk about our high spot for the week. Somehow, some way, Netflix is intruding on Wrestle Reel, the most unconventional wrestling show on the planet. We did say on the first week of the show, and even in the times we've talked about Wrestle Reel prior to the first show, that it was going to be something different. We were going to talk about wrestling media as well as professional wrestling itself. And yesterday, well, as of this recording, we got some awful news that Nick and I were both upset about in regards to the pro wrestling world on television, and that is Glow getting canceled at Netflix. And that was its fourth and final season. They filmed an episode, started another. The pandemic started. 8 months later, it gets canceled. Nick, I don't know about you, but I loved Glow so much. The first 3 seasons to me are fantastic. This is a show that's perfect, that garnered the attention of so many great actresses on this show. Mm-hmm. I loved watching it. The show uses professional wrestling as a backdrop. It's not about professional wrestling in the slightest. It's about the characters involved. It's not about the characters doing the wrestling. It's about the characters using wrestling to advance their lives in some way, shape, or form, to build the relationships that they have with one another. And to be honest, I'm taking my glasses off for this one because I'm mad now. I've been upset about this since we heard about this news. I was so disappointed. It ruined my whole day. Like, I was so distraught seeing it on Twitter. I sent it to the Who Are They group chat, and I'm like, WTF? Right. They canceled the Glow. And I know we save the movie and the TV talk for Real Talk every Sunday, but I mean, I couldn't just hold it in. So when we had talked about show prep for this week, I'm like, bro, we got to talk about Glow and how it got canceled and how, my God, someone save this show, please.
Yeah. Glow used to be like my workout TV show. I used to like get onto the elliptical and just kind of watch Glow for like an hour. Physical. I got physical. Show no results. Probably for other reasons, but Glow meant the world to me. And I had heard about the original Glow TV show by watching Wrestling with Regret. It's a YouTube channel.
I love Brian Zane.
Brian Zane, if you ever want to be on the show, you're more than welcome to join us here. But that said, Glow was important to me because obviously it was wrestling for the average person. Great storytelling, great characters. You fell in love with them all over again every single episode. But for me, it was a spot where I could randomly see a wrestler that I hadn't seen in forever appear out of nowhere. Yeah. Chavo Guerrero. You got Carlito was freaking on an episode. I love Carlito. Carlito's like, man. But it's so sad to see a show that, Netflix does this where, and I understand that it probably wasn't that plausible. It was just another casualty to the COVID world that we're living in. But man, oh man. I hope that Mark Maron's thing about a movie possibly comes into fruition. But there's another thing that I really hope with this is that Allison Brie was such a high spot on this show. No pun intended. There was a lot of Betty Gilpin became one of my favorite actresses by this show. Mm-hmm. Let's make sure that everybody who was in this show El Wong, you got Britt Baron. Let's continue to make sure that these people get work because they were all so absolutely fantastic in this show. I mean, hell, what's her name? Awesome Kong was in this show.
Yeah. God, I'm so glad you mentioned the cast because, like you said, it made a fan out of me in regards to Betty Gilpin.
Yes.
Like, she is probably the best part of this whole show. Like, if it's not Allison Brie, it's Betty Gilpin by far. And the fact that, like, where the character went in season 3 when they were in Vegas, I'm like, yo, like, this show is going to have a stellar ending. And we're never going to see it as far as Netflix is concerned. And that, that drives me insane. I'm glad you mentioned Britt Baron. I'm glad you mentioned Ellen Wong. Brittany Young, like, she was on the movie Trivia Schmodown. Shout out to Spin from the Reel. So there's some great actresses on this show. And maybe a fan of Mark Maron. I wasn't a Mark Maron guy before.
I love Mark Maron.
Before the show started. And my God,
yeah,
like, what he was doing every week or every episode in that show was incredible. So this whole show being just being a part of those Netflix cancellations that they've been doing the last couple of weeks, it's so unfortunate. The fan outcry for Glow being canceled caught me off guard. At first, I thought it was just going to be me being upset, and then you were like, yo, WTF. And I saw other people that we admire on social media being like, yo, WTF, man. That's a Glow. And there are a multitude of reasons why this show should not be canceled, but I'm going to echo your sentiment as well. Mark Maron went on social media and said, hey, we should at least get a movie to end this. If you can't give us 8 episodes, give us 2 hours. And it's like, yes, for the love of God, especially with how the 4th season was going to pan out. Their last season, that was announced. Their 4th season would have been their last. Okay, great. Give me a proper ending because you left me super open-ended going back to California. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Glow. But I just want to see how these characters wrap up and where these characters go. I care about these characters so much, and it sucks that we're never going to see what happens to them. And them being on television, how Glow, like how you mentioned, the original Glow was on like super late at night and no one ever saw it. But it gave us the ins and outs of what, if you weren't Hulk Hogan at the time, this is the wrestling you were doing. And the fact that they were on TV was a big deal. And I'm so glad Netflix gave them the spotlight to do this show. But damn. I was so upset. And yeah, we're going to get more wrestling shows or shows that have wrestlers in them. We're going to get that Young Rock series on NBC.
We got the Big Show show.
The Big Show show on Netflix, which met that wave of cancellation.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured.
Heels on Stars that will have Stephen Amell in it from Arrow fame. That's his next big show that he's doing, and he's gonna be wrestling in that show. That's gonna be so cool to see. And maybe one day we can talk about wrestlers on TV shows or movies that aren't the stars, they're not the stars. Because I mean, we can always talk about like They Live and all that shit. But Glow is it's a bummer, and I really want to see it have a proper ending, a proper conclusion, because that's what the show deserves. Yeah. So, for like all of us here at Wrestle Reel, like WTF Netflix, WTF, like as fans, come on, you can do better than that. But Nick, before we wrap, is there anything else that I missed throughout the show, that we missed throughout the show, that deserves a spotlight from the boys at Wrestle Reel?
Oh gosh, there's something I mentioned before the show that you were like, "Oh my gosh," but I don't remember what it was. Was it when I had said that that NXT is a better version of ECWWE? I don't know.
Oh shit! Yeah, God, that can be the high spot for next week. We can definitely chat about that.
Well, we'll talk about that. But no, that said, I'm trying to hit our usual cue here. And I got rid of it.
There you go, bang! All that fun stuff.
There are some socials, but Chris has some news about what's going to be going on moving forward. We have a schedule set in place. We are excited.
We have a lot going on here at Wrestle Reel. Not only should you follow us on social media, that'd be awesome. Not only should you check out the other shows, on the Who Are They Real Entertainment Podcast Network. Really Scared on Thursdays. Spin from the Real, a Schmodown reaction show every Wednesday. Check out Real Talk every Sunday. The Dog Check, Matt Thomas's Browns post-game show every Sunday. Go ahead and check all of that stuff out. All our watch-alongs. Stay tuned to our social medias for all that jazz. We have a lot going on here at Who Are They Real Entertainment, and Wrestle Reel is just a small part of that. But in regards to Wrestle Reel, for the rest of October, we have essentially our third count planned for the next couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. So next week we'll be reviewing Halloween Havoc 1995, or we thought about doing a audio commentary with it. We can always do both. So
I think we'll do both. We're
going to end up doing both. But we'll talk more about that on the show. And next week, if you want the commentary, or follow us on social media, and we'll give you the details on there. The following week, the 23rd, we're going to be crossing over with a show on the channel. I'm not going to tell you exactly who it is yet, but we have some fun plans in regards to how spooky things can get in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Well, that's a little bit of a tease for you. And then the last week, we're going to properly review NXT, because with how we do the show, we are not able to properly talk NXT. But since they announced Halloween Havoc at TakeOver with the host of Shotzi Blackheart, I'm a big fan of Shotzi Blackheart, so we're going to properly talk how they did Halloween Havoc. And Nick, my one bold prediction for Halloween Havoc, we will at least see one pre-taped match. I'm calling that right now. In some way,
are we saying a cinematic match?
A cinematic match, yes.
Ooh,
in some way,
okay.
It would be spooky to some extent, because I know everything that Shotzi will do will be spooky, but we'll talk about all of that and more on the 30th. That'll be our big Halloween special. We may talk about some spooky gimmicks. We may talk about some other spooky things that World Wrestling Entertainment or the world of professional wrestling has done, but we'll talk about all of that and more when the time comes. So stay tuned for Halloween Havoc next Friday. But for Nick Molbach, I am Chris Anthony Lopez, and we are the Kids at Heart. And Stone Cold, go ahead and close the show for me, homie. Bang. I got to do it.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.